It's time to give our kids a sense of normalcy and lift the mask mandate on a statewide basis for schools.
And along with the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, Governor Charlie Baker right there says the statewide mask requirement for K-12 schools will be lifted come February 28th.
State officials there said that decision was made in consultation with infectious disease doctors, the Department of Public Health, other medical experts.
12 News reporter Alexandra Leslie listened in on this morning's announcements. So, Alex, what other reasons were cited for lifting the requirement?
Well, Kim, state officials say they felt with the access there is now to COVID-19 vaccines, testing, and therapeutics, the state is in a good spot to allow school children, who they say are at lower risk, to remove their masks in the classroom, and teachers and staff will also be free to do so. On February 28th, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education says Massachusetts K-12 students, teachers, and school staff will have the individual choice to mask up inside schools,
unless a school district decides to establish a local requirement.
DESE Commissioner Jeffrey Riley says with the mask requirement being lifted, that means school districts no longer need to request a waiver from DESE to remove masks in school buildings where 80% of staff and students are vaccinated.
Several schools across the Commonwealth have already lifted mask requirements by attesting that 80% of their students and staff are vaccinated, and they have had success.
Riley says Massachusetts has one of the highest vaccination rates of young people in the country.
We are second in the nation among states with the greatest uptake of vaccines in the 5 to 11-year-old group, and 82% of our 16 to 19-year-olds have received at least one shot.
While masks will soon become optional, other mitigation efforts like at-home testing and surveillance testing in schools will remain in place.
We said since the beginning of this pandemic that we're going to do the best we can to establish what we consider to be statewide frameworks, and if communities want to go beyond what we do, that's their call.
Now, the one place masks will still be required in a school setting is school buses, but that's because that's a federal requirement. Coming up new at 5, we'll have new reaction from parents and the Massachusetts Teachers Association, who comments about the timing of all of this. Live in studio, Alexandra Leslie, 12 News.
When it comes to masks in Massachusetts, Governor Charlie Baker only announced changes coming for K-12 schools. Beginning on February 28th, individual school districts can opt out of the mask requirement for students, teachers, and staff inside school buildings. 12 News reporter Alexandra Leslie spoke with some parents and the head of the Massachusetts Teachers Association, who are concerned about the timing. Alex?
Well, Mike, today's announcement came with a little more than a week left of classes before kids and their families head on February break. And with the mask requirement able to be lifted the day they return, the president of the MTA tells me it's just not the right time. Governor Charlie Baker says the reasons the mask requirement is ending in K-12 schools comes down to the state's school testing infrastructure, vaccination programs, data, and guidance from public health experts.
There is a consequence at this point to keeping kids in masks, and we believe we should move beyond that.
During the past 2 years, the impact of COVID on children has caused a strain on their mental health, emotional well-being, and academic success.
Massachusetts Teachers Association President Mary Najimy says not so fast.
In reality, educators are highly attuned to the mental health needs of their students in a way that the commissioner and the governor simply are not.
Najimy says returning to a sense of normalcy needs to be done more safely.
And doing it on the day that students return from winter break is really throwing caution to the wind. We have enough experience to be able to predict that when students come back from a vacation, there's often an upsurge in the virus.
Some family of Massachusetts teachers and parents of little ones are also skeptical.
To be honest with you, I think that we should all be careful in wearing the mask, and then if something happens, to put the mask back on. It's going to be tough.
I mean, I don't know. It makes me a little nervous still.
Now, the MTA president tells me she feels it would be better to wait a few weeks after kids return from school break to make a call on masks and see where cases and vaccination rates are then. Live in studio, Alexandra Leslie, 12 News.